This episode of What the Tech is brought to you by Braintree. If you're working on a mobile app and searching for a simple payment solution, check out Braintree. Go to braintreepayments.com/whatthetech for more information.
What the tech?
Hey buddy, welcome to What the Tech. I'm Andrew Zarin. Of course, I'm joined by the one, the only, Mr. Wonderful himself, Paul Thurrott. How you doing, Paul?
Pretty good.
You know what? I'm really happy you're back to this old setup. I really like this setup.
It's coming together.
Yeah. It's looking good.
Still kind of messy, but
it's like the old days. We could talk about Windows 7 again. Well, what do you think of that Windows Phone 7 that's about to come out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be the next big thing.
You think
it's going to outsell iPhone by about 2015.
Which color do you think is going to be their top seller? The cyan?
Right.
Or that mustard yellow?
That was year 2, but sure.
Yeah.
Year 1 was like Samsung Focus, HTC something with a keyboard. I don't remember.
Listen,
silly phones.
We have come a long way since those days. Yeah, you know what? We actually have not. Things have really not changed, right? We talk about the time that we started doing the show, it was all about Windows 7. And everybody was super high on the Windows 7 bandwagon. Windows 7 was great. It was nobody disliked it. It was exactly what it should have been, the best Windows ever. Right. And we're kind of hearing the same exact thing for Windows 10. And with Windows Mobile 10, right? Windows Mobile 10.
Every once in a while, though, don't you just see someone? It's funny. Maybe this happened for Windows 7. I think what happens today is that so many more people have a megaphone today than they did 5-8 years ago, whatever. That you just notice them more or whatever. But everyone seems to love Windows 10. But every day there's like there'll be some guy on Twitter who's like, I just think Windows 7 is an unmitigated disaster, and I really hoped that they were going to go all out in this one, and they didn't, and maybe next time they'll get it right. You're like, what are you? What alternate 10? Reality do you live in? Like,
you know what's funny? Our engineer, Suncast, the guy that does pretty much everything here, he's very passionate about things.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Windows 10, his dislike for Windows 10 is so specific, and he's so understanding on why he dislikes it.
Okay.
Where he's like, listen, it doesn't work for me for this reason, and this reason.
What are the reasons? I mean, are they valid reasons?
Yeah, they're extremely valid reasons. I can tell you one, Media Center, right? Because he relies on Media Center.
I mean, Windows 10 has nothing to do with the Media Center in the sense that it's dead, Jim. You know, like.
But that's why he's not using it. Number 2, there's some weird specific application that he uses that doesn't work. But like he has like specific reasons why he hasn't gone to Windows 10.
Okay.
So you have those guys that have a reasonable understanding of why I'm not using it. But listen, I'm not going to tell you it sucks. I'm not going to tell you it's bad for you.
In other words,
I'm going to tell you why it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. That's not what these people are.
He actually had a horrible botched update, which we discussed on the air, which a couple other people experienced too. Which again, very specific, but that's
also
his
not
reason.
Unique to Windows 10, but
not unique to Windows 10. It happens. And then you get the other side, right? Like one, you get the side where I'm not leaving Windows 7. This is what I like. This is what I use.
Yeah, cold dead fingers.
I get it, man. I get it.
Yep.
It's the same guys that use Windows XP till the day that computer exploded and they had to move over. And then you get
there was an article in the New York Times today. I did not read it, but the based on the headline, it was basically about if you still want to run Windows XP, just run it in a virtual machine. It was like, wait, what? Like this is not supported anymore. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
But,
so like you get John's mentality where it's like, listen, I had this and this and this happen, so I'm sticking with Windows 7 for now. I'm not saying I'm not going to go to Windows 10. I'm saying for now, this is what I'm using. Like the same reason why we're using it still for our production machine. I had all these issues happen. I'm not going to tell you it's bad. I actually think Windows 10 is the best OS that they've ever made.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't get, and I'm blown away by this, and I'm not saying it to be an ass to anybody. The guys that come up and send me emails and say Windows 10 sucks, Windows 8 was so much better.
Yikes.
And my response is, how?
Yeah.
Because I don't get it.
That for me has gone down a lot. When Windows 10 was still kind of in beta, you used to hear from, well, I guess I still hear from these people occasionally. There are people who insist that Windows 8.1, let's say, is way better on tablets, way better, like Charms, and all that stuff. And it's like, I guess, I think Windows 10 works great on a tablet, but
Listen, I've actually come up with a new business plan.
Your conspiracy theory.
I'm going to start making some Windows Media Center T-shirts and start selling them to the audience. WMC, FTW.
Like I still love Windows Media Center.
Yeah, my cold dead hands.
I used Windows Media Center for 8 years, and all Microsoft got me was this lousy T-shirt.
I used Windows Media.
Like that.
Yeah, I was loyal to Windows Media Center for 8 years, and all they got me was Windows 10.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, and not even a freaking T-shirt.
Yeah, it's really interesting, and I don't think it has to do with like a lot of the XP guys. I think it's because that's what they know, and it works for them, and they stuck with it. I get it. If you have Windows 7 and you're not, tethered to some weird application that does not work or some weird driver that does not work, guys, Windows 10 is the best operating system that they have ever made. It's to the point as a Mac user, right? Right here.
Yep.
I've been using a Mac since 2009. I have my reasons, right? Great hardware. The hardware is great.
You're talking like, I love the way you said that. It's like, I live in a cabin in the woods and I own 18 guns. I have my reasons. Bears, people. Like, I live in Idaho and I never see another human being. But I like to shoot animals. I have my reasons. Yeah,
sure. Listen, I have my reasons why I use it. People, and I get accused of both being a Mac apologist and being a Microsoft apologist. So I can't. I'm very confused at this point. It's either or, guys. I can't be both. But I use it because the freaking trackpad on this thing is the best trackpad that I've ever used. And I really liked the operating system for the time. But now,
I'm telling you, the trackpad has been a sticking point for a lot of people, and rightfully so. I have used so many trackpads recently. Even the trackpad on the Surface Pro 4, which is, small by MacBook standards. When you touch that thing and when you kind of move your fingers around to do scrolling and whatnot, it's glass. It feels great. It works awesome. I really feel like that's become a lot less of a problem than it used to be. The trackpad thing.
It has, right? And I used the Surface trackpad. I used the Surface Pro 4 trackpad. I used the Surface trackpad with you, and I said, wow, this is actually a huge improvement.
Yeah.
I, last week, used the trackpad off the new XPS, the Dell XPS 13.
Okay.
Paul, this shit is close. I mean, if I were to say,
I would tell you that the Surface Pro 4 type cover trackpad is that close.
It's better.
HP's got a lot of machines that have glass trackpads that are that close.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this is the best trackpad I've ever used.
Yeah,
I would say this is better. Almost as I
don't know how you get better, right? I mean, let's just hold up the Apple touchpad or whatever they call it as.
How do you get to that?
As the height, this is as good as it gets. But I really feel like on the PC side, it's getting pretty close. It's getting, we have those machines. I think.
I don't know. This is where I have to
I really
disagree
do think
with
we're
you.
there. I think
we're close. I don't think it's there. You know why I don't think it's there? Because of software.
Because you're a hater and I'm tired of it.
Because you know what? No. I love my Apple. No, you know where it doesn't.
Because Apple. That's why.
Because Apple. Done.
Andrew, can I just remind you of one salient fact?
Yeah.
9/11. Okay? That's why.
Because that's why. Yeah, that's why. That's why.
I mean, so, that really is the end of this discussion.
Done. It's over. You're right. Finished. We can move on to a live read now. Yeah. The XPS 13, the new one, the updated version.
Yeah.
I used it for about 25 minutes. Somebody gave me a demo of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know if it's out yet. I don't know if it's released.
The new one is out. Yeah.
The new one is out.
Yep.
Have you used it?
Yeah, overall, I'm not actually a big fan of the XPS 13.
The new one, the refresh, the brand new one.
Yeah. The biggest problem I had with the previous version was the networking stack completely broken.
Yeah.
They may have fixed that for the new one. It still doesn't solve what I think is a semi-fundamental problem for me, which is just that because of the bezel-less design, which I think is kind of bezel-less to no point.
How dare you say that?
hold on. It forces the webcam to be on the bottom of the screen, which is like up nose.
Which is weird, yeah.
It's dumb. And on the XPS 15, which I'm actually a lot more interested in because it's essentially a 13-inch form factor with a 15-inch screen. Very interesting to me. Same thing. They put the little, look, I edge-to-edge displays are neat. I don't see any reason why there can't be a half-inch bezel at the top, with, for the webcam and stuff, It's a form over function kind of thing. There's no actual benefit not to having bezels.
I would not have agreed with you about a year ago, and I would have told you you're crazy.
I know
Paul.
you're big on bezels.
I'm big on the bezels, but I actually understand after using it for a little bit.
Yeah, it's too much.
And I saw where the webcam was. I thought to myself, you know what? Just a tiny bit. Just like add
exactly
just this much, much. Actually, let me see if I can do this.
Here
we go.
They're
all right?
not
So here, you see this?
Yeah,
just make it up to here.
But you know what?
This is
what
way too
you're
much.
suffering from with that machine is Apple's slow-mo progress. Like they settle on a design and they beat this thing to death for years.
By the way, this is the 2011. This isn't the update. The newer one has thinner bezel.
It probably still has pretty big bezels.
It's half the size of this.
The
bezel.
MacBook Air, my God, that thing has sat still for how many years now? The design. Several years.
Yeah.
So that has a big bezel. You can have a half inch at the top and you can have no bezel everywhere else. It would be perfect. It's fine. Or a tiny bezel in the bottom too, whatever you want to do. But you got to have some bezel because it's not just about the look, you got to factor in all of it. So
yeah. I have so much to talk about, Paul. Bezels were not on my list here. I'm in a good mood today.
I know, but I can always get you going on a bezel conversation.
Don't get me started on the bezel conversation.
Let's take a look at 16 different laptops and rate the bezels on a scale from 1 to MacBook Air.
I have this problem with my phone. Like, how your phone rings every now and then? I get this call every now and then. It's like at 4:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And it's a guy looking for Tony. Okay?
All right.
And I told the story on other shows. This is a family-friendly show. I don't want to get into it, but this guy's looking for Tony, which is a love interest of his. And he says things that are vulgar. And this phone call would come.
Sure.
This would happen. This started happening in about 2002, and it continued on till about like 2009. And I wondered, what the hell happened to him and Tony? Is it over? And then I started getting these phone calls, again, same exact time, and it would just click. It would go, hey, it's me. And then it would click. And at one point I thought, oh my God, what if I was brainwashed as a child and this is the command?
Right.
This is like the trigger. This is
your Manchurian candidate.
This is my Manchurian candidate. Like, I'm going to go and do something horrible now due to this call. Whenever the phone rings, Paul, I'm terrified to pick it up at this point. Either him and Tony have fallen out of love, or I've been programmed to do something really bad when I get this phone call.
Yep.
That is my story of the week, Paul. Hey, Paul, I have so much to talk about, but before we do that, let's talk about a sponsor, and that's Braintree. Great group of guys over here, a PayPal company. I got this live read in front of me. I could tell you all about it. I could tell you about how Uber's using it, Airbnb's using it, Hotel Tonight is using it. List goes on and on. What I will tell you is that the first $50,000 in transactions are fee-free if you go to BraintreePayments.com/whatthetuck. But I got a little story for you guys. I like to use the products that we talk about here on the show, and I love getting feedback from people that actually use the product. I got a guy right now in the chat room that said, hey, listen, I'm an Australian. I can't use Braintree, but I would really like to use it. There's this guy, Lewis, that works at Press, the bar that I go to all the time. And this guy has this brilliant idea for a startup. He's probably listening right now. He's a big fan of yours, Paul. He loves you. Loves you, hates me, but a huge Paul Thurrott fan. He was telling me about his idea for a startup. We're having a couple drinks. He was just picking my brain. He goes, listen, I'm using Braintree. And I have to tell you, it's changed the way that we have worked on the app. It's a mobile application, and they accept payments it's different types of payments that they're going to be able to accept. And he goes, it was the easiest thing that I've done. The guy taught himself how to code this thing. He, took classes on his own. And listen, he's not like a professional programmer. He's done it. He taught himself how to do it, and he was able to implement this. I think it's like 9 or 10 lines of code. Now he's able to accept Apple Pay, PayPal, Bitcoin, all different major credit cards, all these other things. With this piece of code, it's unbelievable. If you have an app, if you're accepting payments, if you're coming up with a company, check out Braintree. BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. Your first $50,000 in transactions are fee-free. For any startup, you know how much that means. The 1%, that 2%, that 3% some companies are taking from you really, really could hurt you at the end of the month. These guys, your first $50,000 fee-free. If you're making $50,000 in a month or in 2 months, you're doing something positive here, guys. You're working on a project that's going to work. BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. I want to thank Braintree. Hey, Lewis, I also want to thank you for telling me this story because it makes my job a whole lot easier. Instead of sitting here and reading something off a script, I could actually tell a real story to the audience from stories from people that are actually using the product and loving it. If you don't have, I have yet to get a bad story, so that's always great. Thank you. Look, the interns brought coffee. Look how great this is. My day's working out. I do. I got 2 interns here. They just sit here and just stare at me all day. They don't even do a thing. They just look at me. I have nothing for them to do.
Sure.
I'm like, can you get me a beer? Yeah, okay, fine. Can you get me coffee? Yeah, fine. That's about it. BraintreePayments.com/whatthetech. I want to thank Braintree for supporting the show, of course, supporting GFQ Network throughout the last year. I hope they continue to support us. Paul.
Yes.
So much to talk about here. Let me just open up my notes. There is a update for the Windows Phone. 10586.29.
Yep.
That's a hell of a build.
It sure is.
You want to go into this because a lot of people are happy with this.
Well, first of all, I there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot kind of to say in a way for something that really is fairly innocuous in the sense that there's not a lot of new features in it or whatever. But as you can sort of guess by the 0.29 bit at the end, it's the latest sub build of the build that became Windows 10 15.11, right? Version 15.11, the November update. They've synced the build across PC, tablet, phone, possibly other products as well. I haven't confirmed that, but like IoT, System Center, whatever. I think it's semi-notable. We're in a new era here, right? So Microsoft is doing things a different way. Way back when they expected this thing to hit in October and it was going to be a certain thing, and then it was July, and the October release became the second one, and then it became November, and then they had to ship it early, but it went out on phones and it wasn't done yet, and so there's all this stuff that kind of goes around it, and it's literally the 29th attempt that they've made to get this build right. I think that's really the most obvious way to look at it, and so in that sense, it's like semi-negative, but it's a high-quality build. It's available everywhere. They were able to ship it out to phones and bypass the carriers somehow. There's been a lot of theories about it, but we still don't.
Yeah, so that was going to be my question. How did they do that? How did that happen?
I don't know. Again, lots of theories stated as fact, which I really don't like to see. I think the thing I would just say to people is that the wireless carriers can absolutely still block updates, and that if Microsoft could have been doing this all along, they would have been doing this all along. And so I don't know, there's no magic new agreement that Microsoft has with carriers or anything like that. But they did get it out. So how did that happen? I'm not really sure. I mean, there's a big percentage of users on new phones that are unlocked. And so those people allegedly get things directly from Microsoft without any carrier intervention. I actually don't think that's the case, but there's the theory. Microsoft has sort of componentized Windows Mobile with this release more than they did with the previous releases, where things that carriers might have blocked before are shipped as cumulative updates or security updates, and maybe the carriers don't really care as much. Carriers are involved in the insider program essentially. They don't really call it that, but they see these updates early, and so by the time we see them as beta testers outside of Microsoft or as end users who are not on the beta, it's already been tested. I mean, I don't think that fully accounts for it either. There's all kinds of things, but
maybe they just don't care anymore.
What's that?
Maybe the carriers are like, who cares? It's Windows Phone.
By the way, that's another theory.
Yeah.
There's so few people using these things. Who cares? It doesn't impact anything. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I know. which I'm seeing a lot of, and I'm a little distressed by that kind of thing. But I guess it happens all the time. So who can say? I guess, but ultimately, we're at a point now where we're in December and the November update is done, and it's in good shape, and it's in good shape everywhere. It's in good shape on PCs and tablets, and it's in good shape on phones. And I mean, there's more to come. They have to get it out to existing phones. They have not announced that. Maybe that announcement is coming soon. I would love to be surprised in a very positive way and have Microsoft unexpectedly say, hey, we're going to ship this to everyone, just like we said we were. But I suspect what's going to happen is that carriers will have a say in this. And what carriers want is to sell you a new phone, not give you a brand new S on an existing phone that you've had for a year or more. So we'll see.
I was surprised to see the amount of positive feedback from the Twitterverse when it came to this update. A lot of people were, I don't know if it was anticipation, they were just excited to get it, or it was just it fixed a couple of the bugs that people were, having.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. Right. I'm not sure what to say to that.
Like if you have you could obviously you could put this on. What's the oldest phone that you could put this on right now?
Well, I mean, right now you can't put it on any phones, right? So
except for the 959,
unless you're in the Insider program.
Yeah.
What is the oldest phone? Oh, geez, I'm not really sure. I mean,
like you're not going to put this on like a 620, or 520, 530.
Actually, you could. It would go on well, I don't know, 620. It would go on a 630, 635. I mean, those phones are about a year old, year and a half, maybe.
I'm curious to see how this is going to perform. Like people have through the Insider program that have put this on a 920. How is it performing on a 920 compared to a 950?
Yeah, I mean a
XL?
920 is probably going to be too old. I mean, I'm not sure what the threshold is. Is it like Windows Phone 8.1? Probably. I know that the last time they had said so, it was a fairly small subset of recent Lumias that were going to get it first, and then it would open up to more phones over time. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they still have not announced this, right? So we'll see what they do. Positive
step in the right direction. I mean,
yep.
That's all you could say right now with this update. It's interesting that the overall feedback that I saw online, I was surprised actually how excited people were for this. But we'll see what happens beyond it.
I mean, part of it is probably a bit of backlash over a lot of the negativity that has been around Microsoft the past year or two. And I find myself kind of involved in this involuntarily because, as we were just talking about Windows 10, I think Windows 10 is wonderful. I think the Surface stuff, by and large, is very good. I like the Lumia stuff, even though a lot of people have been kind of down on it, although I think they price it incorrectly. But, there are problems with the Surface Book in particular, and problems with Surface Pro 4. There's a problem with the whole Lumia strategy, obviously. And I think people are getting a little tired of, Microsoft sucks, Microsoft sucks, Microsoft sucks. And that's not really what I engage in, obviously, but I think from the broader world, there's been too many years of getting beaten on by Apple people in particular, or Google people, or whatever it is. And I think for the people who are fans of Microsoft, and they do exist, that there is this sort of desire for that to stop, and that why can't this stuff just be good enough, but I think there's a little bit of fakery that goes around with that too, because we're sort of ignoring problems because we just want everything to be positive. And,
well, I think so you have Google and you have Apple and you have Microsoft. I think Microsoft has had years of being this, bad company, and they're trying to screw everybody. No, so that's a perception, right? And when they put something out, they have struggled with communication issues where they haven't either A, delivered on what they've promised, or B, not communicated what they're promising. Apple, on the other hand, has prospered on speculation from the blogs. I mean, single-handedly, Apple makes great products. Don't get me wrong there. But the hype machine behind Apple is speculation and speculation until the day of the release. Google puts things out constantly, half-ass, and they go, "Well, here, try it out, see how you like it."
Google's on a perpetual beta machine or whatever. But honestly, there's a whole culture. It's kind of a younger culture of people who really don't care, that they're okay with that kind of thing. I think there's possibly a happy medium between, Apple, which doesn't release an OS update, but for once a year essentially, although now they're starting the beta test things a little more quickly, and Google, who is updating things every 10 minutes, it seems, But by the way, on the Google versus Apple thing, you might not have seen this because it was on Petri, but I wrote an article today about Microsoft and productivity, and it sort of expanded on some of the ideas I have around the future of Microsoft and where I think that they're going, and that my belief is that Microsoft becomes purely a productivity / business company over time, and that over time, the client stuff kind of goes away, that Microsoft becomes Azure essentially and Azure-based services, and that they become a services company. I think that's kind of the future of Microsoft. And on that note, their competition is going to be Google, and it's going to be Amazon, right, with AWS and that kind of stuff. But I kind of touched on the Apple thing. I think a big distraction for Microsoft over the past 10 years, maybe more, has been seeing Apple come up out of nowhere and become very popular with individuals, with consumers, which Microsoft is desperate to have a handle on. And they've kind of gone after Apple and have failed almost universally across the board. With
Paul,
the minor exception of service.
I'm sitting at the JetBlue terminal waiting for my flight. Every single person that had a laptop out, it was a MacBook.
Okay. But, all right.
And this is the company that has less than 10% market share.
I think that what Apple does right, that's not right. What they do right is marketing. But let's say the thing that Apple, how do I say this otherwise? The thing I do agree that Apple is maybe superior at is hardware design. Although, as we just discussed, they tend to milk designs for long periods of time in some cases. They tend to get hardware right. They tend not to get online services right. And they really have not much of a push into online services, not really. Not like Google does, right? Not like Microsoft does. And they also get software wrong. Apple gets a lot of credit for great software. Mac OS 10 so easy to use, all that kind of stuff. That's all baloney. Apple's software is terrible.
I'm going to tell you right now, OS 10, Windows, same crap at the end of the day.
Okay. Well, okay. So I would say Apple Music, and we'll just leave it at that. So the thing that's, when you're being beaten on, like I think Microsoft and its fans have been beaten on over the years, certain things are always held over your head. And we could look at some of the Me Too stuff that they did around Apple. And when you think about it, around hardware design largely, that they just didn't do well at. Zune being an obvious example, although, of course, there are people who love Zune, and I was among those people. The Lumia stuff, the Windows Phone stuff, it's like stuff that follows an Apple product to market. There's all these high hopes, like it's going to do something great. It does have some differentiation, whatever it is, and then it just fails miserably in the market. And that stuff is beaten into Microsoft and into Microsoft fans' heads on a regular basis. I remember, this is the guys who did Zune.
It's also, it's consumer perception, and we've discussed this for years.
Let's flip it on its head for a second. Yeah, I'm sorry. Just let me just complete this thought, because the thing that people don't do is that to Apple. Apple has made such things as iWork, their attempt at making Microsoft Office over again from scratch. Apple had Xserve products that they basically don't sell anymore. Apple made MobileMe, and then iCloud, which, by the way, even most Apple users ignore on their own devices and go to Google services instead. Yep. Those products are as silly and as big a failure and as much of a Me Too copy of something that came before as anything Microsoft has ever done. And you don't really hear about that a lot, And so I think with Apple, they've settled into this thing where they do the hardware right. The software is good enough, it's good enough, obviously. No one's swapping out Mac OS 10 to run Linux or whatever, just like they don't do it on Windows. You kind of just deal with that. I think Apple software is terrible, but whatever it is, I wouldn't call it one of its strengths. I think hardware is basically the strength. And when you look at Microsoft, that's not the strength. they've made some interesting inroads lately with Surface in particular, and we'll see what happens with phone. And maybe they could turn things around. But, to date, I would say Microsoft has failed in those places where they just don't have a particular expertise. But so is Apple. So is Apple.
I'm gonna add to that, right? Let's talk about consumer perception.
Yeah.
For Windows, and let's talk about consumer perception for Apple. The problem with Microsoft is this is what you constantly hear. Apple is so much better than Microsoft because you got blue screens and things don't work, and it takes me forever to start my computer, and nothing ever works, and things crash on me. That is not necessarily a Microsoft problem. That is a hardware issue. Sure. Microsoft has hardware
or a PC Maker issue,
PC Maker. They have OEMs that they deal with. Apple does not have that burden to deal with shitty hardware. Apple handpicks what they want in their products, and they tune their operating system to work as flawlessly as it possibly can to that.
Obviously, though, it's still a problem with the platform. I mean, if the PC makers are screwing up Windows and they're putting out shitty products, we can still look at this thing and say, Windows PCs still kind of suck because of this thing. If this were the case, obviously Microsoft has a signature program.
But again, you said exactly what it was: Windows PCs. Nobody is saying HP is the one that's at fault. When you give this compute, when you give a Mac to somebody, and you give a $500 mid-range laptop, like everybody else, most people are not buying thousands and thousands of dollars worth of laptops.
Sure. Unless they're buying Apple laptops.
Unless they're buying an Apple laptop, and you compare the two, yep. They're going to say, "Oh my God, the Macs are so much better." It's not a negative hit towards HP. It's a negative hit towards Windows and Microsoft in general. Yeah. That's the association people have. Most people that I talk to don't associate Compaq or HP or Dell as the problem. They associate Windows or Microsoft as the problem. And that is a perception issue.
But it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at the end because
if the PC sucks, it doesn't matter if we blame Microsoft incorrectly. And by the way, I would just point out, Surface Book in particular is full-blown Microsoft, and that thing has all kinds of problems. So Microsoft is not necessarily always the solution either. The problem when you're the only group, entity that makes everything, Apple likes to point to the fact that they do all the software and all the hardware, and thus their solution is somehow more integrated or better or whatever. You also have nowhere to turn when things go wrong in that situation. And I would also argue in kind of this modern era that the piece of the puzzle that's missing from that pat little description is the online services where all of our data is stored, where all of my settings are stored, where basically I am doing all of my computing. And in that case, actually, Apple's solutions are the weakest by far of any of the major platforms.
Yeah, it's done really half-assed, and I'm actually shocked. So what I was trying to do, here's an example. And I'm sure someone's going to send me an email telling me that I'm doing everything wrong, but I don't use an iPhone, right? I do have an iPhone, though. I do have an iPhone. And I have an iPad, and I have my Mac. So what I wanted to do, the messages that I receive in iMessage on my Mac, if I format and wipe everything away, where are those messages?
Where are the messages?
Yeah, where are the if I want to, I do a total format, I reinstall, the Mac OS, and I put iMessage up. I don't always get those messages. I get some of them. Whatever was backed up on iCloud from another device, those are the messages that I could retrieve. I can't retrieve the messages that I'm getting. It's like half my messages are missing and half are there.
Right.
Again, that's half-assed. It's not done the right way.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's doing it right. We're in a weird stage right now where cloud computing is the future of this, and I don't think anybody is doing it properly. Google Cloud Services, I rely on them. I use them because I feel that for me they work the best. And actually, they kind of do, right? Because you're already in the cloud.
Right.
My Hangouts messages are all in the cloud. My photos are all in the cloud. My docs are all in the cloud. So you can't really screw it up because there's nothing local to go. You're doing everything on the cloud to begin with. If you allow it to go there, it's going there, and then everything resyncs. Google, by far, in my opinion, for the average person, is doing the best thing when it comes to cloud computing. I can't speak really highly of Apple, and right now Microsoft is having the disaster with OneDrive.
Google is infuriating because they're Google, and there's always that fear that they're mining your data and whatever they're doing. But the way a company like Google wins you over is when they make stuff that really works really well. And I don't think anyone could really complain about the performance or the reliability of Google search in particular, but it's some of the other stuff that I become more impressed with over time. Like Google Photos, I think we've discussed this, is awesome. They just added shared albums today.
Did I didn't
Chromecast audio today just picked up multi-room support, meaning that for the cost of a $35 dongle, you can put these things around the house and create your own Sonos system for your own house for the price of one Sonos speaker. I mean, you have to have speakers, obviously. But speakers are cheap. I mean, I bought a pair of speakers for my office for $100 that are better than anything Sonos makes. I could spend another $35, and now I'm part of a connected room kind of deal. And so, there's always going to be that residual thing with Google because of the privacy stuff. Just like with Apple, there's always going to be a residual thing because of the sheer attitude issue that I have. That Apple's fans have. It's just so terrible. The kind of hubris of the company, which is where it comes from, and then bleeds down to their big, loudmouth fans. It's tough, because you look at something like an iPad or an iPhone, and you're like, this is a beautiful device. I shouldn't feel weird using this. And the Google services are like that. These things work so awesome.
Yeah, they work well with that.
But it's like it's Google, and you're like, ugh,
And I'll tell you my other Apple criticism here. So I went to California and I brought my iPad.
Yep.
And what I like to do, I put all my MP3s. I don't like to use my phone as like my MP3 player. So I actually bring my iPod Touch just for music, which works great because the battery on that thing lasts for like 10 years. That's all it's doing.
Yep.
But I also bring my iPad to just BS and play stupid games. For years, I have been extremely critical of the app ecosystem on Android, where it was a total disaster. Everything was all over the place. You didn't know what to get, the quality if the apps weren't good. I have to tell you, I was shockingly disappointed at what's happening to the ecosystem on Apple's side because there's so many apps now, and there's so much crap being pushed through.
And you can't do anything to hide them
and the way that they used to aggregate the front page was really done well, where it was, high quality featured apps. Now it's filled with these BS.
I really don't like their software. Apple News is an example of something that just doesn't work very well.
Which I use it. It was okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't Flipboard, but it was okay.
Listen, if you want that kind of thing, Google Play Newsstand is way better. And honestly, if you want more of a curated kind of I should call it a newspaper style deal, just get MSN News. It's awesome. Just categories. You go in, you read the top stories. It's great. Apple Music is something like the one thing I love about Apple Music, it kind of keeps me there a little bit, is that curated playlist stuff that they do. It's awesome.
Yeah.
The rest of it it's a disaster. That app has more bugs. It's the type of thing where you're scrolling through the list of playlists and you start seeing the same things over and over again. Like you're in a perpetual loop, like you can't get out of it. Really bad software. But they're obviously they're kind of new to the subscription game, and they're figuring that out. But
I think in the app sense, these are just growing pains. When your ecosystem hits this point where it's like, oh my God, everybody's making apps. I think, Apple initially, and this is something that they got criticized for, right? Where they were so strict on who they were letting in there and what applications they were allowing and the criteria that they had. And they kind of opened up a little bit. And I think now it's just being flooded with, like 5,000 My Little Pony pay-for-play games.
Okay. Well, okay. I don't know about that part of it, but I mean, what I would say is one of the big complaints about Google, and this is actually an antitrust complaint in Europe in particular, is that because they're the gateway to the internet, they know what people are searching for. Thus, they know that people are looking for certain things, and they have a market advantage to get in and provide a service that provides those things that people are looking for. It's an insight into what the world wants that no one else has.
So they understand.
It's not technically illegal unless you have a monopoly, but they do have a monopoly. And of course, one of the other things they're doing is preventing people from finding the services they're really looking for and throwing them at Google services instead that serve the same purpose. Apple does the same thing on their devices, right? They've been doing this forever. But the latest example is Apple News. The only reason that app exists is because Apple knows, because they have all the feedback from what apps people are buying, what apps people are actually using, that, well, people really seem to like these news aggregation apps. Like, I think back in the day when they were like RSS apps, it was like, well, it's kind of a niche-y kind of a thing. But now that you have like nice curated news things, Apple's in this business. Now you will have an Apple filtered view of the world. And look, surely I had something to do with this, but I find it very interesting that I read MSN News regularly. I read Google Play Newsstand regularly. I read individual news apps regularly. But among them, the only one that gives me news about Apple products all day long, every day, is Apple News. It's like this self-replicating halo of Appleness. It's like, what's going on in the world today? Well, there was a bombing in Paris. There's like this climate thing going on over here. There was a shooting out in California. Apple released a new battery pack for the iPhone. It's like, wait, what? How did that get in the top 5?
Yeah.
And that's Apple News. And I find that to be a little off.
I'm looking at the top on Android, the top downloaded apps, the best apps for 2015. Okay. Number 1, the very hungry. I don't know what that is. Number 2, Adobe Photoshop. Number 3, Microsoft Word. That's your top 3.
Wow.
Interesting. I guarantee you Microsoft Word was not there last year.
On the iPhone, it's going to be like Snapchat, Monuments, Apple News. Oh, no, Apple News comes with the OS.
Actually, let me see. Top charts, okay? So here, this is what it is on this is top free.
Okay.
Facebook Messenger, Facebook, Pandora, Snapchat, Instagram, Wish. I don't know what that is. Shopping Made Fun. That's Wish. I don't know what that app is. Google Photo. Google Photo is not even in the top 5.
Of what?
Of most top downloaded, the top charts under their apps. Under Android.
Or iOS?
Yeah, Android.
It technically comes with the OS.
Followed by Netflix, Amazon Shopping, Blossom Blast Saga is number 10, and then Spotify number 11, and then it goes on and on.
Apple users are so loyal to Apple that they have made Apple Maps used 5 times as much as Google Maps, which everyone knows is better, which is why Apple News exists, by the way. And I also think that there's a baloney thing that goes on with Apple's reliability and customer service awards, like through Consumer Reports, where people are always giving them really high scores. But every time I go into the Apple store, and by the way, I've had to do it a lot, for the same reason, there's a huge line of people and they're all waiting to get support for products that are broken. And then I have to wait well past my reservation time, which makes me wonder why they have a reservation time. And, now that our kids both have iPhones, this has happened multiple times. My wife has experienced this. Drives us crazy.
And you know what? And Jess has the total opposite. She'll break her phone. I mean, she'll literally take this thing, smash it against the wall. The bits will be flying out. She'll walk into the store and go, I don't know what happened. Ha, silly me. And they go, oh, no problem. Here's a new one. Don't even worry about the warranty.
What I'm talking about literally is you create a support reservation. You're supposed to be met at 7 p.m. or whatever the time is. And then you go in there and you're like, we're running really late. It's really busy. And it's like multiple times. But you made a reservation. But I have a reservation. Like, why? I don't know. I just find this whole thing to be very dishonest.
Yeah, Jess has done the reservation thing too, and she's had 100%, satisfaction from her results. So I think it's interesting, right? Like you have a totally opposite.
Well, I can assure you,
you're not a pretty
go online
20...
and ask people what their experience is, it's going to be a lot closer to mine.
I think they see you, Paul, and they're like, "Oh, that's not a pretty 29-year-old girl."
This happens to my wife.
Oh, to your wife too. Okay.
This is not just me. I'm not basing. Look, it is anecdotal, of course, and this is happening. But when you go to you can do it yourself. You can go to any mall in the world where there's an Apple store and look in and see what all those people are doing. A lot of them milling around looking at stuff. A lot of those people are also waiting for their reservation. Yeah. That's why they're milling around. They got nothing else to do. They're all packed in the back of the store. And I really feel like Apple fans are skewing the results because those guys are the types of people who will spend extra on a warranty package, wait in the store, and then be like, man, they give really good service. And it's sort of like a justification thing because you just spent a lot on something and you want to feel like you've derived value from it. You want to believe, like we were saying about PCs versus Macs earlier, that I have made a good decision. This is a quality product. Yeah. It's better than a PC. It may be more expensive, but I don't mind paying for that privilege because what I'm getting is superior. But that's not the type of person that's going to get a form from Consumer Reports and write anything other than A+.
Yeah, but you know what? Though? But here's the thing,
doesn't matter
Paul,
how much time I just spent sitting in an Apple store.
Both you and I always say the same thing to someone that wants to get into a smartphone. They're not really technical. Go buy an iPhone. Yeah. We both recommend iPhones to these people.
I do, but it's not because of Apple, and it's not because of the Apple Store experience. It literally has nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
it's because that it's ecosystem.
Yeah,
it's because that's where all the stuff is.
Yeah,
and if you want access to everything, it's on the iPhone.
Yeah. This is a fun show, Paul. We're having a lot of fun today.
All right,
we're having a lot of fun, guys.
Or else,
I want to talk about my experience with Samsung because I lost my mind the other day with Samsung. I actually had a meltdown on Twitter. Guys, okay. if you have a broken phone, send it to my wife, Jessica, at Jessica Zarian on Twitter. She will get you a new phone. She'll just walk right into that Apple store and just get a new one. So before we go on, I want to talk about my experience with Samsung, and this is why Amazon is kicking everybody's ass. This one experience that I've had with Samsung speaks volumes about what it's like to order anything outside of Amazon. Before we do that, guys, if you're watching live, thank you for watching live. 2015 has been a very fun year. Really, really fun to do the show each and every week for you guys. The way that we're able to do it, obviously, is with our sponsors and, of course, is through Patreon. You guys fund the show. If you go to patreon.com/whatthetech, you can fund the show whatever you want to fund it. 50 cents, $1, whatever it is. And we provide you with a bonus show. We record it live each and every week following What the Tech. If you're watching live, obviously, don't change the dial. You can watch it live for free right after this in the next 15, 20 minutes. If you are listening to the podcast, you go to patreon.com/whatthetech. Last week, I made the show free for everybody to watch, actually. It was actually a fun show. I reviewed that Amazon, that cheapo Amazon 7, the Fire 7, which was, I'm shocked how good that thing was. So,
by the way, I bought an Amazon tablet since then.
Did you? The same one?
Well, no, you can't get that one. I got it's an HD 8.
Oh, you got the HD 8. How do you like it?
I like it. It's there's some frustrations, and they're not all Amazon's fault.
But they fixed a lot of those weird carousel BS.
Oh yeah,
things.
yeah. No, the UI is much better, and the performance is okay. I wouldn't say the performance is great. There's goofiness in mobile apps. I see this on different places. I see this on iOS too, where you're in an app and it links to something outside the app, and then you go back to the app and it's not in the same place in the app anymore. And I find that to be frustrating. The New York Times app on Amazon is not as good as the one on the iPad, I guess. But they have a nice, they have like that night view. I don't know what they call it, bright view or whatever it's called, or night view or whatever, which is kind of neat. It's good overall. I'm sure it's circuiting your Samsung store, and despite the fact that I turned the ringer off on the phone, you can hear the phone is ringing.
That's good. So, guys, if you want to help us out, obviously you could do that. Fund us. Also, holidays are here. You're buying anything on Amazon, use our link, gfq.co/Amazon. Bookmark it. Whenever you buy something in Amazon, click on that bookmark, and then we get a tiny little credit from every sale that you guys are buying, everything you guys are doing. It's not costing you a thing. We're just making some money from it, so it helps us out. Paul, are you ready for my Samsung rant?
Yes, please.
Okay. Holy crap. So I ordered that stupid Samsung VR. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have one?
It's like Google VR, but it's actually made of plastic and has an adjustable strap.
Do you have it?
No, I don't have a modern Samsung phone to use it with.
Okay. So I got it because it uses the Oscillate Rift software. I don't know if that's built into the actual thing or if it's, just like software driven, right? So I'm like, you know what? It's $100. Let me get the Samsung one. I went online. I went to Samsung's website. They said estimated delivery is Friday. I ordered it. I paid like $25 for the shipping because I wanted it by Friday. That's the day I decided to want it. Before I get the emails and saying, Andrew, stop being whiny. You're just upset because you didn't get it the day that you wanted it. Yes, I wanted it on Friday. And I paid $25 for the stupid shipping for Friday. And I ordered it from Samsung. Order it. First of all, no tracking. Nothing arrives. The only way to track
from Amazon.
No. I bought it from Samsung. That was my mistake.
Gotcha.
So they send me this thing with the order number, so you could actually track it. It says, okay, put in your order number and your order number password. So order number password.
You understand that the problem you have caused is wholly of your own making, right? That by ordering this from Samsung,
that was my problem.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all my fault. I should never.
Okay.
I will never order anything outside of Amazon at this point.
Okay.
I want.
By the way, that's not actually a horrible strategy.
No.
Although there are a couple of companies like Newegg's really good, and
you know what, they suck too, and I'll tell you why. Their shipping method is out of control. They charge you for rush processing.
Uh-huh.
You know what? Just ship the thing like Amazon does. So I ordered this thing through Samsung. They tell me I'm going to get it on the 9th. There's no back order. I made sure because this thing is sold out everywhere, and it wasn't sold out on Amazon on Samsung's website. I order it. I go to track it. There are two options to track an order. One, tracking number, and your tracking password, your order password. There is no order password. Two, because I didn't use it with I didn't create a Samsung account, unfortunately. Two, it says email address associated and the last 5 of your credit card. Well, how do you provide last 5 of a credit card, Paul, if you use PayPal as your checkout method? You can't.
Okay.
I go through their online customer service. They say the only way we can provide you with information is if you call us. Okay, call them. There is a 4-hour hold time. What planet are we on that there's a 4-hour wait time to get a tracking? I mean, they could automate this. Just say, what is your tracking number? This is my tracking number. Estimated delivery time is so-and-so. I waited on hold for like 3.5 hours because I needed to know if this is, now I'm obsessed over this thing. They tell me on the phone, oh yeah, you're not going to get it till around Christmas because we're sold out. Well, but it wasn't sold out when I ordered it. Yeah, it got sold out after. So what you do, you order it, and then we process the order. It's sold out before we processed it. Well, you know what? F you at this point.
I hope that while you were doing this, that you went to Amazon.com, ordered one, and got it the next day.
I have ordered it. No, it's back ordered on Amazon.
That's back ordered.
And they're getting it on the 15th.
Okay.
What I was told. And I will have it on the 16th. But Amazon actually tells you the device is back ordered.
Yeah.
These guys tell you, well, it wasn't back ordered when you ordered it. It got back ordered when we started shipping. I'm like, and I told her, I'm like, listen, this is why I'm never ordering from Samsung. This is why I will never, and I went on Twitter and I did this thing and they actually contacted me. Samsung contacted me with this BS thing where they said, oh, we only do tech support. We don't provide any other information and we don't have access to shipping. I go, out of all the things that you could provide, don't you think the simple question of, my number is 55598. Do you know where this is? Yeah, dude, it's in Michigan.
God.
It's common sense. And this is why Amazon is killing everybody. And you know what? I support small businesses. I get it. I'm going to get the email from people saying, well, Amazon's killing small business. Walmart is killing small business. I get it. But you know what? Samsung is not a small business.
I think we talked about this because I talked about this with my wife about a week ago. And I want to say, I think we might have talked about this, but the sort of inherent quandary with Amazon.com and anything like this, where you can't deny the benefit of not having to get in your car and go to a place and see if they have, I think we talked about this, like Radio Shack and everything. But yeah, there's a down. I mean, obviously, there's no such thing as like just everything's better. Like there's always a flip side, right? To anything. It's but I would say with Amazon, the gains outweigh the ills.
The best part was when I asked the question. Well, I used PayPal and how do I track if I use PayPal as my order and I don't have a Samsung account, how do I track the order? And they said you can't. Then why do you offer this as a payment? Like how why is it difficult for you to track? Why can't you just say, what is your order number? What is your email address? Oh, here you go. It's like weird. It's like simple. Drove me nuts. I went berserk yesterday for 4.5 hours. I had a whole meltdown.
But this is Samsung. Why would you ever? Every time you order from a company like this, you're guaranteed to not get this thing. It's just guaranteed.
Yeah. This is why I order everything on Amazon. This is exactly why.
Amazon is the online stores as Apple is to hardware. It's the kind of comfortable, they're always going to get it right. Awesome customer service experience. If you want to return stuff, no problem. It's easy. I don't want to, who was this? Roku recently. So when Roku announced the Roku 4, I immediately jumped online, ordered it. There was all kinds of glitches on this site. I ended up ordering 2. Had to call the company because it's the only way you can return an item or cancel an order. Call them on the phone. Hours on the phone. Finally got in touch with this Indian guy. Couldn't understand anything he was saying. Horrible. All right, he canceled my order.
Well, I told you the issue my wife had with Macy's last year. Okay. She ordered a bunch of stuff for Macy's, right? Like for the whole family. Like she did a bunch of shopping, and she opened it up and she saw the packing slip, and the packing slip it listed everything that was ordered. So day comes a couple days before Christmas. She's wrapping everything. She's realizing 60% of her order is missing. And she calls them up and she says, what happened? He goes, well, yeah, we shipped you what we had and the rest was back ordered. You're going to get it on January 5th. Why would you put it on the invoice? And she goes, but we put a star next to it. We put a star. And he goes, well, I don't know what the star means. He goes, well, the star means that it's back ordered. It's almost like they've never had a compliance test, nobody's ever come in and be like, yeah, guys, this is really screwed up. We need to fix this.
Right.
we need to figure out how to get over this. I was shocked at that issue, and I was shocked at Samsung.
Sure.
It
I don't know. This doesn't surprise me.
If you go to their website now, I guarantee you it's still not back ordered. Let me go there. Actually, Samsung.com. Let's go to Samsung right now.
It'd be like going to SonyStyle.com.
Sony.
Thinking you're
Let's
going
go
to
to
get
Sony.
something tomorrow,
Wearable tech virtual reality headset. I'm an ass for even ordering this stupid thing. You know what? Okay, here we go. Free shipping site-wide extended through 12/31. Ships in 5 to 7 business days. They just added this. They just put that in. That did not exist. So they finally corrected this problem. But that doesn't mean that it's back ordered. You can find it online or locally also, Paul. Direct buy, find locally. Who has this? Best Buy has this in Flushing. I could go to Best Buy and buy it. You know what? I hate you, Samsung. I hate you so much.
Yep.
You ruined my day. Wearable tech.
I don't know. To me, this does not surprise me.
Do you know why I want that stupid virtual reality thing? Because the WWE now has an app where you can,
oh my God, dude, seriously.
Where you could just put this thing on your freaking head like a lunatic and watch go like this, and it's like your front row at a wrestling event, and you could just like watch the wrestling event.
I-
That's the only reason
wow.
why I want this thing. I want to watch wrestling like I'm front row.
Wow.
This is what I get for being an ass. I deserve this. I deserve what happened.
Well, this is how you learn.
This is how you learn.
You have that one really bad experience, and
I went nuts. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go buy an iPhone now. I'm going to become this guy. I'm just going to get the Apple Watch. I'm going to spend thousands of dollars, and I'm going to say, screw you, Samsung. I win, don't I? And then Apple's going to be the one that wins.
Well, that would be one solution.
That would be one. I just want. I told Jess. Jess was looking at it. She's like, why would you even want this thing? I go, I want to watch wrestling. She's like, so you're going to.
Hold on, but why don't you? Is it only on the Samsung?
I don't even think so. I think there's like 5,000 different VR headsets. I don't know if it's offering
just
anything.
Get a Google VR. I mean, a Google Cardboard thing.
Paul, if you go to Amazon.com right now, there's 5,000 of these like adapters that you put them in. But I didn't. You know what happened? I'm going to tell you. I drank
Andrew,
a little too much.
have you tried Google? Google Cardboard. It's awesome.
I drank a little too much, and I saw the VR headsets, and in my mind, I created this illusion that they're doing something special with the Samsung one that doesn't exist with the other ones. I don't even know.
Well,
if
yeah,
that's
there's a
true.
strap. it holds it to your head. I mean, I guess that's a minimal benefit.
The lenses, maybe it's like the lens that they has like a
Yeah, that could be absolutely could be better. I suspect there's a soft material that's more comfortable to hold onto your face than cardboard is, but the cardboard one is like $20.
I'm looking at this. The Sunny Pack Focal Pupil Distance Adjustment Plastic Google Cardboard Virtual Reality Headset. This guy used every freaking SEO term known to man. $36. Maybe I could get this.
Here. Look.
Does it work?
$20. It works awesome.
Do you put it on? Do you walk around with that thing?
Just, look, you just put just put a Windows phone in there. Like that would ever work. Seriously, I just turned that ringer off again. All right. You just put the phone in.
Yeah.
Close it up. Velcro. Works.
You're in the future now.
Yeah.
I want to walk around like a spaceman. Why can't I just have that happen?
I am literally I'm gonna answer this thing on the air and yell at this guy.
Yeah, answer it.
Makes me crazy. I just turned it off again. Why?
So there's like 5,000 of these things, and I'm gonna order one of these piece of garbage ones and see what happens. Samsung, if you're listening, very, very disappointed in you.
Wow.
I hate you now. I'm gonna go out.
Trying
I'm gonna
to water
drink.
ski off the back of the Titanic. It's not gonna work.
I'm telling you right now, right after the show, I'm going to the bar and I'm having a shot of Jameson. I'm saying F you, Samsung, and I'm going to drink it. That's what we do here in Bayside.
Well, maybe you should go to the Apple Store instead and take out your frustrations in a completely different way.
I'm already, that I'm banned from the Manhasset Apple Store.
Well, that could be a problem for your future.
That was a whole separate issue.
Sure.
I told the guy I'm going to rip his beard off outside. I got a short fuse, Paul. Don't look at me for who I am on the air. There are moments that I really just lose my mind, and then I threaten people with, I'm going to burn your beard off your face, you stupid hipster. Nice. And then security comes and tells me to leave it. And my father looks at me in utter disappointment and says, that is not the son that I raised. The son that I raised would have just punched him. Those were his exact words. Sure. We're sitting in my car. This is a day, that was a day that my, like these stupid things melt. These godforsaken power adapters. I know yours
does, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mine happens to melt constantly. I don't know why. And I called them up and I went to the store and they're like, yeah, no problem. We'll just bring it back to us. No problem at all. I go there. The guy's like, I'm not taking this back. It's all, you put tape all over it. I go, if I hadn't put tape, would you have taken it back? He goes, yeah. And I ripped the tape off, and he goes, well, I can't take it. I saw the tape. And then that's when I told him I'm going to burn his beard off. And then they called security. And that was it. All right, I'm getting the high sign. Time to end this and start the post show, guys. We're gonna talk about my trip to California, my experience at In-N-Out Burger. Maybe I'll continue my insane rant following the show. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Subscribe to the show. I actually had fun. I'm yelling and screaming, Paul, but I had fun. This is exactly what it's like to have a drink with me. Paul knows. Paul hang out. Listen, Hellcat in our chat room, I met him at the 6 in Calabasas. I had a great time. I was in a great mood. See? Look how nice. He says, haha, you seem so nice in person. I am a nice person.
You are a
Just
nice
don't
person.
promise me a delivery date and then screw me at the end.
Wow.
Get that Samsung. I hate
It's just
Samsung.
like the buying the car experience, you know? You should have expected this.
I should have expected it. You know what? That's what you told me, and I was right. I'm going to talk to my... I hate you, Samsung. All right. Go to our website, gfknetwork.com. Guys, subscribe to us. Subscribe to the show. We're on YouTube. We're everywhere podcasts are available. Thurrott.com. All things Paul Thurrott. Next week, Windows Weekly is live from the Microsoft store in Manhattan.
Yep.
Which I am, I'm going to be helping producing that on the New York side. I have to speak to Alex. It's a whole rigmarole. There's a lot of people involved in this, Paul. A lot of back and forth.
I know.
A lot of back and forth emails going around. So tomorrow, I think we're going to figure it out. We're going to get it going. But I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be 2 p.m. East next Wednesday. Of course, Tuesday, we're going to be doing. Are you in town Tuesday or Wednesday?
Wednesday. So
we're going back to regular schedule. Tuesday, we'll do What the Tech. Wednesday, we'll do, I'm going to help out with Windows Weekly. And then we're going to drink afterwards. We're going to drink a lot. Are you staying in town or are you going home?
No,
Wednesday?
I'm going.
Oh, yeah, come on. Just stay one night.
Seriously, it's like the week before Christmas. I get,
Yeah, it's a great time to be in New York the week before Christmas.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Ta-ta for now.